Hi, my name's DiDomenico, and I'm from the Teaching Assistant Project at Rutgers University. And today I'm here to tell you about something I'd like to call the walk-in question. The walk-in question is something that you can use in any kind of a class. It could be a class of 30, it could be a class of 500, a big lecture. But all you really need is some kind of setup where you have a projection screen and you have some time to kill, So sometimes people will get to class anywhere from the 10 minutes before class up until the last couple seconds before class starts. But you want to see if you can use that time to your advantage, even in a really passive way. So sometimes putting something on the projection screen can be something to get their minds jump-started in a way. So here are some benefits to using this walk-in question, or again, a question just on the projection screen. The first thing is that it helps you to establish a routine in your class. So often we talk about trying to instill some kind of a learning community or different kind of norms for what your class is all about. And this is one way of doing that. And so when you get into this class, the students will learn that the first thing you're going to do is talk about the walk-in question and what people thought about it. So it gets them thinking this is already going to be a part of what we do in this class, as a part of being a part of this community. Second reason this is a good practice is that it helps to kind of build relationships in some way. I don't want to overstate this to make it sound like we're doing icebreakers with everyone every day, but ideally I really think that a lot of students in some way will have some kind of exchange about this, or it could just be that they think about the question on their own, right? But either way, there's some kind of opportunity there for the students to interact and possibly to make connections, and those relationships can go elsewhere with them outside the class for study groups and for other purposes. So I think more and more I'm hearing instructors talking about how do you get people in the class to really form bonds, and I think that this could be one way of doing that, using these kinds of questions. The third benefit I want to talk about is that it gets their minds warmed up, okay? It gets their minds working like an engine. And so it could be that this depends a lot on the type of question that you choose. And so that's the last thing that I want to talk about is, well, what kind of question do you want to ask your students or present to the students? There's a couple different options you have here. You could ask a question about current events that happens to relate to something you're covering in the course. So for instance, I'm currently teaching my department's large introductory class on communication, and we have a couple lectures where we talk about language. It could be there was something in the news that was related to language, and so tying that into what we're doing by having the question on the projection screen, give them some context about what happened in the news, and then kind of present a question about how that relates to a concept that we went over previously. That's one way of doing it. So beyond current events, you could also do like a quiz-like question, maybe give them kind of multiple choice type setup and use, perhaps if you use clickers, you could have them actually answer once the class starts. And then finally, this is my favorite, is actually doing some kind of question where they take like a stance on the issue. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, but it asks them to think about some kind of an issue that relates to something in the class, but you want to really get them thinking about, like, well, what are their values and how does that hold for this particular topic? And I think that that's actually could be the one that's most beneficial, most geared towards having a discussion with their neighbor or their friends who just walked in with them. So this is what I call the walk-in question. Again, it's like trying to use that dead time when your students come into class and you're not really covering anything because the class hasn't started. So we'll always be back with more teaching tips. Thanks.